Hello and welcome to the week ahead from the Financial Times in London. Here are some of the big stories we'll be watching this week. Rio Tinto reports annual results. Will it be a bumper day for shareholders? The Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee meets to discuss interest rates. The European Union is set to map out a membership path for Western Balkan countries. And the Winter Olympics kick off in South Korea. First, to Rio Tinto. The reporting season for the mining sector kicks off in earnest this week when Rio files annual results. The Anglo-Australian mining company finished last year on a high when it hit export targets for iron ore, its most important commodity and main source of income. Strong global growth has created the strongest backdrop for commodity prices since the financial crisis, and investors are returning to the mining sector. Rio's strong end to 2017 will fuel expectations that it will shower shareholders with more cash this week. Last year, the company returned more than $6 billion to shareholders. That's 40% of all the cash it generated. Here's our commodities and mining editor, Neil Hume.
Well, I think the focus this week from Rio is going to be on cash returns, and possibly we could see the biggest dividend in the company's history paid out. That could be about $2.75 per share. That's going to come as a result of higher commodity prices, but also the focus that the company's put on improving productivity, cutting costs, and really focusing on generating as much cash as possible. Now, investors, having seen some pretty tough years in the mining industry, really want to be rewarded for their patience now. So they'll be looking for Rio and the other miners that follow it to really ramp up those payments and commit to them in future as well. This can't just be a one-off sort of payment that goes to shareholders.
Now, the European Union is set to offer the prospect of membership to 6 Western Balkan countries by 2025. The EU is seeking to breathe new life into its enlargement, strengthen controls on migration, and counter Russian influence in the volatile region. A European Commission paper is to be published on Tuesday, setting the target for what would be the bloc's biggest single expansion in 2 decades. But the 2025 target looks ambitious and may go down badly with some existing EU members, as our East Europe editor Neil Buckley reports.
It's really more of a symbolic target than a real one. It's extremely ambitious. There's probably only 2 countries, Serbia and Montenegro, that are capable of doing it by then. But by setting the target, what they're trying to do is give new momentum to the process. There are a number of EU states that probably are not going to be entirely happy with this. Some of them think that the EU should focus on its own internal reforms rather than trying to take in new members. You've got member states like Spain, which is very wary of allowing Kosovo into the EU or giving Kosovo the prospect of membership because of Kosovo's split from Serbia. They're worried about the implications and the message that might send to Catalonia. So this is not necessarily going to be an easy thing on which everyone's going to agree.
Next to the 23rd Winter Olympic Games, which start in Pyeongchang in South Korea on Thursday. The Games begin amid controversy about Russia's participation and tensions on the peninsula. Pyeongchang is only 65 kilometres from the heavily fortified border and demilitarised zone that separates South from North Korea. The International Olympic Committee has issued invitations to 169 Russian athletes to compete as neutrals despite being banned in December. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has admitted that some Russian athletes doped at the Sochi Olympics, but he argues that similar cases can be found around the world.
Мы дали для этого повод. Мы сами в этом виноваты. Все-таки случаи употребления и применения допинга были. Правда, я хочу, чтобы эта аудитория знала, и вся страна знала. Таких примеров много по всему миру, просто их не выпячивают и не раскручивают в рамках внутриполитических кампаний в той или другой стране.
And finally, to London, where the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee meets this week. The bank raised interest rates for the first time in a decade in November, and the MPC signalled that at least 2 further rate rises were likely to be required by the end of next year to bring inflation back to target. Markets and analysts will be looking closely at the language used as the bank publishes updated economic forecasts and sets out its thinking on future policy, as our economics correspondent Gemma Tetlow reports.
It would be a big surprise if the Monetary Policy Committee actually voted to increase interest rates this week. But it will be important to look at the language that they use and how they change their forecasts that they will put out this week alongside their policy announcement. When they raised interest rates in November, the Monetary Policy Committee tried to send quite a hawkish signal, suggesting that at least a couple more rate rises would be required this year and next. But actually the markets didn't take it that way. They saw it as quite a dovish message. So it'll be very interesting to see this week whether the Bank of England try to ramp up again that slightly more hawkish message that more rate rises are on the horizon, and perhaps try and indicate when those might come about.
And that's what the week ahead looks like from the Financial Times in London. See you again next time.